So I want Ani, guys, kick back and relax. I got Ani on here. She's so powerful.
Thank you. We all are.
Because yeah, but you've unlocked your power. You J Roy, do you know how to channel? I didn't think so.
I can have all of you. I
Bruh,
can have all
bruh.
of you channeling, and by channeling I mean being the observer and having images come up and everything. Within 10 minutes, you'll be seeing stuff.
So, okay, Ani, would you
Our
like to
long
talk?
talks.
Would you like to talk astrology while the rest of us goons and just unsophisticated savages be quiet?
I do want to talk about the astrology, but before I get into the astrology, I wanted to mention something, the D Vortex was talking about, and I think Rai Guy also mentioned, as far as, people leaving our lives. And I was talking about this with Birdog, I think it was last night. And, it hit me because I've been doing these shows with Alfredo on practical alchemy. And as he was describing the alchemical process, which is basically taking the material and taking it apart, separating it, and then exalting it or purifying it, and then recombining it to form something that's pretty much greater than the sum of its parts. This process, it hit me. This is happening not only on the macro, but on the micro in our individual lives. So to my point with that D Vortex is that, not to place myself in it, but again, I can only speak from my own experience. And the loss of friends and the loss of family happened to me 27 years ago when I started channeling. It was devastating, and it's very difficult because you think these people know you. And, and in my case, I was like, they know me. They know I'm not crazy. They've known I've always made a lot of sense, and I have my wits about me. How can they not see that? But it really is part of the process. Like when I started channeling, the very first apparition I had was Metatron. It was a huge tube, like a tunnel of light and shadow. It was light, and it was white and light blue. And one of the first things it said to me was, people are going to leave your life and new people are going to come in. And I didn't make much of it, but my goodness, it's across the board. Once, because what's happening is you're upgrading your frequency, right? There's a speeding up that happens, and that ties in also with the speeding up of time, because our perception, it is relative in that sense that time is relative, because it's based on one's own vantage point, right? But I digress. Your
Did you
energy
say
changes.
So you said Metatron, Ani?
Metatron, in the Bible, he comes up as the voice of God. What it really is God's source. This is how it was. I'm going off on a tangent here, but let me finish my point. What's happening, I'll get back to that in a second. What's happening is that your energy is changing. It's vibrating at a different speed, at a different pitch. And so people sense the change, right? Aside from what's telling you, with what you're saying. And even and you have to admit, because if these people that don't want to see what you're seeing, or can't, or think they can't, or just don't want to really, they're staying at a certain frequency while yours is speeding up. So no longer are you a match. It's a hard pill to swallow, because this happens with loved ones, with family, with friends that you've known for years. You get over it. You get over it. And don't expect any kind of validation from anyone down the road. Like I said, it usually takes about 20 years, is what I found. For some people, a very small amount of people, to actually give credit, or acknowledge that this is the stuff you've been talking about for years. Most people won't. Some people come to their own realization and don't even remember all the shit you said, But, to what Birdog was saying, absolutely, that separation, you're undergoing a process of evolution, of exaltation. So it's a process. This doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, and that new frequency that you're vibrating at is going to bring in the people that are a match. So we all go through that. We all go through that. I've gone through it in cycles. I went through it 27 years ago, and I went through it again probably about 10 years ago. It happens, you know, because some people come into your life and it's, you know, like they
Ani,
say, what?
forgive me. Do you think, does this have, why do some people get activated and tuned into this? Why are we such a small minority? Not that I've been on this level that you're talking about. Um, is this anything to do with the Akashic records in our memory? Is this anything to do with we're attracted because of some of our previous iterations and our energy? And why? What are your thoughts on some of that?
It's timing. Okay, let me take this in layers. First of all, the Akashic records, how it's been understood. Some people some people see it as an actual place, like a library with information. Again, we perceive stuff based on our understanding and our perspective. But the Akashic records is really everywhere. It's the trails that are left behind as records, say, of what already happened, past, present, and future, because everything's happening at the same time. So we can access that, and like I said, it's not necessarily a place. You know, it's more interdimensional and permeates everything. You can see it as time itself. So yeah, we can access that if you tune into it and you ask, and you that's one way of getting a lot of historical facts. That, you know, another way of getting history right is out of body, because you could travel past and future, in out of body. And I have two videos on that: demystifying sleep paralysis, which is, you know, shows how the process works, or when it's happening to you, what's really happening to you. But anyway, um what was your other point, other than the
Why
Akashic
us?
records? I
Why
forgot.
us?
Why
Why
us?
why the
We
few? You said it's timing, or
It's a lot of things. We come in groups, number one. There's all kinds of consciousness here. I've been able to trace my celestial lineage, and we all have a celestial lineage, because our physical molecules, it's spirit meets matter, right? So our physical molecules, our body, come from the earth. But our consciousness, which is, you could see it as our soul or a spirit, that comes from somewhere else, because everything births from something else. So we all have a celestial lineage. Mine happens to be Syrian, from the star system Sirius. Um, there were consciousnesses that came in at the beginning, that the intention was solely to move the human consciousness along. Because as you can see in the world around us, people refuse to see things, even when they're in front of their eyes. So there are, you know, there's avatars that come in, not like we call avatars today, but like enlightened beings. Like Jesus was one of them, the super evolved. You know, the Buddha, all these beings that have come in to really speed humanity along, to speed up the evolutionary process. Um, because humanity doesn't tend to see it on their own. There's also the factor of, yeah, everybody's got their own time. You know, there are people like those of us that came in at the beginning, we're leaving at the end of the cycle. You know, unless you want to come back for another round of thousands of lifetimes for the next planetary cycle, which I'm tapping out after this one. That's why it's so
so
important.
is that where, you know, you hear the common phrase, they go, "You're an old soul."
Yeah.
Um, are you
Al-
saying some of us
Although, if we want to get technical, everything was created at the same time.
that's where
It,
I was going.
it's just a matter of when it comes into existence through time. So, for example, at the beginning, and this is how it was explained to me channeling, at the beginning of our planetary cycle, our current planetary cycle, everything came in at the same time as what we would identify as a giant form of DNA, like a giant strand of DNA that came in as energy anchored in the center of the planet, which is actually a black hole. That's what gravity is. It keeps everything anchored. But because of time and frequency, those different consciousnesses will manifest at different points through what we perceive the continuum of time, because we do experience in our physical body, we experience time linearly. even though time isn't linear. But our perception
Yeah,
and those
I like
sensations,
that.
that's
I
how
like that.
that's how thank you. That's how we perceive, right? I hate to overuse the word, but I can't think of
Sure.
it.
We're experiencing this in linear time. We just are, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
25 years ago, we did, like, or, this is how we're experiencing it. But yes, I love that. But actual time is not linear in the bigger picture.
Mm.
This is really beautiful stuff, Ani. I mean, I want, let's keep going. Divine Vortex has a
Okay.
question. Are you familiar with? Can you see her question? Okay, I
Hold
can
on.
read it. I can read it.
The RAA constellation. Do you know much about the Ara beings? No, I don't. I'm not familiar. I've never heard of them. What
Okay,
can somebody enlighten me on this?
she's and some other people said they're like they're from different constellations, like the Sirius. So let's go with if Divine, can you
Well,
share a
I'll
little bit?
say this: if a particular, anything calls your attention and it's something that you feel very pulled towards, usually there's some sort of connection. And there's a reason why it's catching your attention. So
Okay,
maybe,
so
it could be possible that, that's your lineage if that's something you're resonating with.
yeah. How about this one from our boy Dick Warlock?
Wait, I have to put on my glasses. What did he say?
I love by the way, he spreads joy in my world every time I just see his username. It's like, thank you, my friend. Thank you for that.
Okay, here's the deal. I'm going to address this question. I've said this a lot on Berserker's show. The Illuminati, they have their secret societies that are based on hermetic principles. The universal laws, the 7 universal laws, which are cause and effect, the law of correspondence, and that everything corresponds or is connected to something else. The law of pendulum, which is also the law of vibration. There's 7 laws. Gender, polarity, those are all laws. Now these lizards, because thank you for Birdog, thank you Birdog for reminding me not to call them elite.
That's an original too. I'm coining. I came up with that. I came up with that naturally. Yes, we all have parallel thinking, but yeah, the lizard class.
Lizards.
You hold the.
I've been saying that for a long time. But yeah, they are not elite. But yes,
they're aware of these universal laws. They're aware of cause and effect, which is in essence the law of karma. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. All of these universal laws have parallels in physical science, in the laws of physics. You can look them up. So they're aware of this. So what they do is they reveal truths very cloaked in vagueness at best, or straight up misinformation, because they feel that by letting us know, they're absolving themselves from any kind of karmic repercussions. And since they know that humanity has gotten to the point that whatever they dish at us, people just take it or believe it, they think we're idiots. They laugh at us all the time. All of this that they're doing is a big game to them. That's why when people get caught up in the sides, the left or the right, or, Trump and Biden, they all work for the same people. I say that over and over again.
sure.
It's a
Even the
game that they
religions.
play. Wars, even their wars, it's with real life soldiers, like toy soldiers. That's how they see it.
So let me ask you this.
They feed off of that. They benefit financially, depending which side wins, and the losers win too. And also it's an enormous blood sacrifice in the case of wars. So
what do you think about, yes, I can go on that one, but what do you think about this question a little deeper, in that an actual cycle of conscious awakening happening like now, despite their efforts to try and dampen the energy and try and
here's the irony. They want to control us, and they want to, their abuses. The thing that they're faced with is they are not evolving. They're stuck. So on the one hand, they're trying to keep us back by misinformation, all the things that they do, chipping to keep track of us, because as we've talked about here before, the day will come when they're not going to be able to see us because of the different vibrating frequencies will automatically have us in what we would call a different dimension from them. But down when you, let's talk about scripture for a minute, right? What the Bible say, which is, you know, as I always say, it's kind of a hacked up piece of information, but there are truths that still remain in there and there's still valid stuff. When they talk about in the Bible about in the end, you know, even Lucifer returns back to God. They know on some, you know, they know that eventually they will too return to source and to God, but it's nowhere in the foreseeable future.
That's interesting. That's interesting that they, yeah. So I guess they just really believe in their super darkness. Like, yeah, there's probably some actual, like, there's probably some like actual lizards here of some kind, like a parasite Dracula type of Anunnaki type entity at the top at some point here, living here, that can live a long time. But these little,
everything's here. Everything's here, whether it's underground, on the surface, in parts that aren't really like either easily accessible by humans or have natural barriers.
Of the earth.
Inside the earth, the reptiles are here, the lizards are here. I've been shown. I'm not gonna say where because I don't know who eventually listens to this, but even they're polarized. The reptile race that I was shown, which I was shown, it's somewhere in Africa, underground. They have a huge. They have hold on. They have a huge tunnel system, and they themselves are hiding and are at war with the evil reptiles. So not everything that's in the physical realm experiences that duality, that polarity. So anything physical, even the aliens, the reptiles, whatever life forms are here that are, you know, more intelligent life forms, if we want to call it that, or what we would identify as, you know, cognitive life forms, so all have that battle between good and evil going on.